All right. Speaking of wake me ups, we're wondering if Deion Jones is going to need to wake me up here. And the real simple question to ask, guys, is what is the plan with Deion? Clearly, we know that they wanted to trade him. Clearly, we know that they were trying to get rid of him. They found no takers. And so, much like Kevin Durant in Brooklyn, we had to put our arms back around him and say, hey, man, come be one of us. I still think there is a fantastic opportunity to get him traded, probably maybe after week one, when salary cap things change a little bit. And two, prior to the deadline. I still think the ultimate goal is to move on from Deion Jones. Clearly, Dean Pease doesn't see him as a centerpiece of this defense. Clearly, Dean Pease doesn't see him as the guy who can anchor this defense, because if he did, he would have made that known already. If you look at Dean Pease's track record, what did he have? Oh, he had Teddy Bruschi in the middle in New England. They win Super Bowls. He had Ray Lewis in the middle in Baltimore. They win Super Bowls, right? Like, he has those anchors, and traditionally he's had those anchors in the middle. He's not his guy. So I can't still envision him being here long.
I was going to say, I thought the comments from Arthur Smith about, well, he's going to have trouble getting on the field with all the competition we got here. And I'm thinking about 3 years ago, nobody would have said that about Deion Jones, about, he'd have trouble getting on the field. And to your point, I don't think he fits the profile of what Dean Pease wants. That's why they brought Rashaan Evans and Kwiatkowski and guys like that in here. But the idea that the head coach came out and said, and this is a guy who, let's face it, for a handful of years has been one of the stalwarts on your defense. I mean, 3-4 years ago, he was looked at as the ideal linebacker in the NFL. Now you're talking about, now you're talking about
an all-pro. You're talking about all-pro.
Well, I don't know if he can get on the field because of the competition. I'm thinking to myself, with all due respect, it ain't like they've got Jack Lambert and Ray Lewis running around on the field right now that's taken. I mean, I love Michael Walker, but Michael Walker ain't done a third of the things that Deion Jones has done in the NFL. And we're talking about he's having trouble getting on the field. I'm with you, Mark. I don't think he's going to be here week one.
I think they want him to play and show that he can play, and hopefully try to dump him for a late round pick.
Yeah.
Even Dean Pease said coming into the season, when he was getting ready and having those press conferences and everything, he said himself, he was like, I looked at Michael Walker. I knew last year, once the season ended, that I knew that Michael Walker was going to be my signal caller going into the season. Like, come on now. And that was before we even found out about the offseason. Shoulder surgery, all that stuff. These guys had moved on from Deion Jones. Yes. They had moved on. They just couldn't trade him.
Help himself out. He played like dog piss last year. Like, just general lack of effort at the entire position. There's multiple, pieces of film on it. You could see he was just lazy. He didn't move. Like, he mentally checked out, and it's cost him a shot to get a starting job back in this league. I mean, right now he has no value.
Mark, I want to ask you a question because, and Jarvis and I have talked about this. I think because it was just basically a shoulder cleanup is what he had done, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You couldn't have done that on Valentine's Day. You couldn't have done that 1st of March. They timed, and all conspiracy
it was perfect
theory,
timing, man.
They timed everything out to miss OTAs, put them on the PUP list, and they timed out everything to not have to force him on the field, to not have to answer questions about where is he, why is he not in the whatever. They timed all this out for a reason. I don't think they just arbitrarily said, okay, now go get your shoulder cleaned up and because they could have done that again on Valentine's Day. That could have been his Valentine's Day present.
They could have done it the second week of January, for crying out loud.
Easily.
Yeah. Hey, Happy New Year. Get your shoulder cleaned up. I mean, they could have done it any time that they wanted, but everything waited until, now it's mandatory minis. Now he's going to get his shoulder cleaned up.
Well, and to your point, I mean, he didn't go through the team for this surgery. Like, this wasn't done by the team doctors. This wasn't done through the Falcons. He went on his own to go get this thing cleaned up and told the Falcons after the fact about it. So that in and of itself lends to conspiracy theories as to why you did that, when theoretically, you have health insurance, from your team, and they're supposed to take care of all this stuff so they can track it all. That in and of itself, when you go rogue like that and find your own doctor, you have a bad relationship with the team. That's at a minimum. That's what that means. You don't trust the team doctors. You don't trust the trainers. You don't trust the staff, that you're going out to somewhere else to get this thing done. So I agree with you. And yes, the timing of it was absolutely planned to do it. And I don't necessarily know if it's about, missing OTAs as much as it was about, like, you're untradeable when you're hurt. It's really hard to trade a player. And so he waited until March when free agency hit and everything else, that all the chips fell where they may and everybody had somebody. Then you get, you report the surgery just prior to free agency because I can't trade you before. And once free agency hits, it's like, let me go get a guy who's cheaper, who probably can do the same thing, who's not injured, as opposed to giving away an asset and trading for a guy who actually hits my salary cap and costs a lot more. So, yeah, I think all of that was part of the plan of Deion Jones to stall this process as long as he could until he was ready to be traded. And the big
is this mic on? Let me tell you something. Let me tell y'all something. I think like both parties are being calculated, right? Because we know how the Falcons are big on perception, right? They don't like bad stuff. They don't like bad press. They being said about them. So
years of any team in the NFL.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. A lot of beat writers for a lot of NFL teams probably say the exact same thing. But I think that both parties said that, hey, we're gonna work this situation out to our advantage. That's why Deion Jones's camp, they delayed that surgery as much as possible. And from the Falcon side of it, they was just like, you know what, go ahead, do your thing, and we're gonna put you on this PUP list, or we're gonna have to answer any questions about you. And I think that but things are gonna come to a head, because when you talk about NFL veterans, salaries being guaranteed once the season starts and all that stuff, that's when you're going to have to, there's going to be a crunch time to come with this situation. Because that's why I think that we may see Deion Jones play a little bit tomorrow, because so teams can say, you know what, oh, he is healthy, so let's see what he got. Let's have a conversation about, what makes sense from a trade standpoint.
And Mark, to your point too, let me tell you, that Emory Healthcare facility they built at their training campsite, man, when I tell you that thing is state of the art, and I talked to some of the Falcons personnel and was asking, like, why didn't y'all have this before? And I'm not going to say what they told me, but that place is as state of the art as you. They don't have to go offsite for MRIs. They don't have to do anything anymore. They can literally stay right there in Flowery Branch and handle anything that you've got coming up out there. I mean, it is high caliber. And, Arthur Blank isn't going to do anything, on the cheap, whatever like that. That facility is amazing. So to your point, they don't have to have anybody go anywhere. They can do everything they want right there at their facility in Flowery Branch.
Yeah. And again, at this point, I don't know what the desire of the organization is to hold on to this and drag this out and make it uglier than what it needs to be. I've said this routinely, guys, especially in sports, but this is also like, in life. If you make a bad business decision, a bad investment, the minute you know it's a bad investment, cut bait and get the hell out. Right. There's no reason to double down on a bad investment or a bad business decision by dragging it out even longer. The minute you know a coach doesn't work, fire him. The minute you know a player is done, get rid of him. The minute you know that something doesn't work from a marketing standpoint, stop doing it. Like, there's no reason to continue to drag. All it's going to do is be a cloud over the, when you're saying we hope a guy isn't a distraction, he's already a distraction. Like, you've already hit the point that it's a distraction when you have to announce out loud, we don't think he's going to be a distraction. You're distracted. So, like, none of this ends well, and we all know how it ends. What the hell are you waiting for? Just cut the guy and let some
law.
Yeah, right.
Cocktail. Nothing ends well, or it wouldn't end.
Right. So, like, what are we doing here? Like, I just don't see the point to try and drag this out and hope that you get a 6th round draft pick for the guy. Screw it. Just cut him and be done with this. You're eating the cap money anyway.
And I think one of the things it's
go ahead, Jarvis.
No, I'm just gonna say that, I think it was like the number was, I think they will only save $1 million if they were to cut them. Like you said, because what's the best compensation? Like Mark said, a 6th round draft pick. Who gives a crap about a 6th round draft pick? You've moved on.
I don't think they want I think part of it is what you guys said. I don't think they want the PR hit of saying, well, we just cut Deion Jones, who's been a stalwart for your defense. And let's face it, when you interview Falcons players, there were like 3 guys. You talked to Grady, Deion Jones, Ricardo Allen. For years, that's the guys you talk to. He's been one of the faces of your franchise. Good, bad, or otherwise, you say whatever you want about it as a player. But he's been one of the faces of your franchise and one of the mouthpieces. And the idea of just cutting him for no compensation or whatever, I don't think they want that look. I think that's part of it, is they just don't want the.
It's a worse look when Deion Jones, after he does finally get cut or traded, comes out and dumps on the organization and everything that they did wrong. Oh, yeah. That's an even worse look.
Yeah, and put him in a bad spot to be able to latch on with somebody else.
So
yeah, I mean, just Dan Quinn, just make the call. I mean, Chuck, go ahead and call DQ up and tell him, like, hey, man, come get your boy because everybody want to move on, and it's time to go ahead and make this situation right, man.
For an organization, if you're worried about the bad look for Deion Jones over the bad look of Deshaun Watson and Matt Ryan, Deion Jones isn't a bad look. So let's just forget. And this is why sometimes this Falcons PR team is so
it's a
bad.
Sweet 16 party compared to the Deshaun Watson case.
The communications department lacks so much. Like, you can't get much of a worse bad look than dumping the best quarterback and the best player in your entire franchise's history for a guy who had that going on with Deshaun Watson. Yep. Like, you don't get a worse look than that. What are we doing?
I'll say this, Mark, and I've said this consistently. The Falcons didn't move on from Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan moved on from the Falcons. Matt Ryan said, you know what? Let me go find me a better spot. Let me go find me a new place. Because I'll say this. 10 years ago, Arthur Blank wouldn't have gone down that road to go get a Deshaun Watson. He wouldn't have done it. Say what you will about Arthur. A decade ago, when he was still kind of without the cancer and without where he's at in life and all, he wouldn't have gone and gone for a move. Even if he needed a quarterback, they wouldn't have gone down a road like that. Now,
never.
He had a quarterback go to federal prison, Chuck. Of course he wouldn't have made that decision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No.
And by the way,
no.
When that guy got out, the first thing he did was sue that quarterback. First thing he did with Mike when he got out of prison was he sued Mike to get all the bonus money and everything back, to get the money back from him. He sued the guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Arthur Blank, he's definitely in a different headspace now, in comparison back in the day. Yep.
Right. At this point, the optics don't really matter. Like, execute. Like, if you're focused on optics, and I get your point, Chuck. I mean, about, cutting a guy that you paid $20 million to a year and everything. Like, it's.
But I'm with Mark. I'm with you though. I'm look. If he can't fit the scheme, what's the point of having him? Right. I mean, Bill Parcells said, if I can make my 53rd spot on the roster better, then I go do that. So I'm with you. I'm just telling you what I think from part of what the Falcons themselves think about this. Brother, if he's not fitting, then move on. Because you got to try out Michael Walker. Keep it kind. I don't care who, whatever, Troy Anderson, whatever you want to give me out there. If you think they're a better fit, play those guys and move on. Don't have the loyalty to somebody that you just want to keep him around because – you think he can mentor or whatever nonsense that you throw out there in the world of sports, to do all of these things. If he doesn't fit your system and scheme, move on. Hell, what the hell does the cap matter this year anyway at this point? What difference does it make? They got no cap space or lots of cap space. Hell, it don't matter at this point. You're done at this point with the cap.
Yeah.
Like Chuck mentioned, they've moved on from a scheme standpoint, right? We understand that he doesn't fit into the scheme. And two, they moved on from a personnel standpoint. They literally drafted an inside linebacker in the second round. They brought in Kiewikowski. They brought in Rashaan Evans. All those guys fit the scheme from the scheme standpoint and the personnel standpoint. You've moved on in two ways. All you got to do now, just get them off the roster. Because that's all that's left to do right now at this point.
All right. Any parting shots here, John Chucker, before we sign off for the day?
No, look, I'll be honest with you. I'm glad preseason's about over. I like this 3-game stuff, and I'm ready for it to be over. And I'm ready to get in. I want to see the 53-man roster, and let's go. Let's get all this stuff done and over with, and let's get ready for real football.
Jarvis,
I will go. Arthur Smith is telling you a story if he doesn't understand who's going to be the starter at that center position. Ain't no way in hell you're going to wait till Tuesday to figure that out. He knows. He just hadn't made a decision. He just hasn't come out with it yet.
All this said, gentlemen, Falcons plus 4.5 week 1 at home against the Saints.
Love it.
It's already on the card. It's already on the card. All right. That'll do it for our second Locked On Sports Atlanta Hangout here. Make sure you guys give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On ATL. You can see our Twitter handles down below. But if you're just listening in the audio, it's John Chuckery. It says JM, so I said sorry there, Chucks. I apologize.
I have slightly more hair.
Yeah, there you go.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. JMCH316.
And I'm not married. I'm not married either.
True. John Chuckery. Jarvis D90 for Jarvis Davis and Matt Marquezino, MARKZINNO. We appreciate you guys. staying with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Coming up over 3,000 subscribers. Guys, only been at this not even 6 months yet. So we appreciate all the support that you guys have shown Locked On Sports Atlanta. Check out all the shows. John Chucker is hitting hard. Jarvis Davis has ATL Day Ones with Tanisha Batiste. Locked On Falcons. Locked On Hawks, our Braves postcast with Grant McCauley. And, of course, I have A to Z every single day right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. You guys have a wonderful Friday. Have a great weekend. Don't take the crap from me. We'll see you all on Monday.